So in Project Music, our goal is really just to create innovative experimental instruments and bring music and engineering together in a way that hasn't really been done before, just to create something weird, creative, and awesome. And that's what we brought to this violin, or at least hope we did.
When we were brainstorming ideas for what we wanted this project to be, we really just wanted to take the concept of a traditional violin and make it something new that people have never seen before, and something cool and innovative. So one of the first ideas that we thought of as to how to make this violin really cool looking was to have the body be clear, because in that case, people would really be able to see and interact with the heart of the instrument, which in this case is our electronics and all the inner workings of the violin.
And so when we were deciding on what to use for the material of the violin, we decided on acrylic because it can be heat molded and laser cut and is also very easily acquirable. We did, however, find some difficulties with the acrylic as it becomes brittle under high tension forces. And for instance, in the strings of a violin, they can achieve almost up to 20 pounds of tension at a very small surface area.
So how we chose to solve this problem was we have a aluminum rod that runs throughout the length of the violin, and the strings are actually not mounted onto the acrylic plates that make up the body, but rather the ends of this aluminum rod. And so in that way, all of that stress and all of that tension is transferred to the rod, which will not deflect and will not break, at least not as easily as the acrylic would. And we realized that this would add a lot of, more weight to our instrument than a traditional violin. However, it was something that we had established and accepted very early on, that this would not be anything close to a carbon copy of the traditional instrument. This was going to be something completely new and experimental, and something that people should not necessarily expect to be able to just pick up and play right off the bat.
So for the heart of our electronics, we decided to use a Raspberry Pi, which is kind of just like a small microcomputer, which is pretty powerful, and we decided on this because it would allow our violin to be self-contained. So the only thing it ever really needs to be plugged into is an amp.
The signal is picked up by a piezo pickup. We decided to use that instead of a magnetic pickup, and then the signal is sent to our sound card, which has a built-in audio-digital converter, and then that signal is sent to the Raspberry Pi, where we put our own effects on it. We ultimately decided to use Python to do the signal processing because it's a very versatile programming language with a lot of different music-based packages. And the package we ended up using for our final product is called Pio. It has a lot of different audio effects that you can put on the signal. We thought that would be very applicable to our project.
So the first effect that we decided to include was a delay effect, which just delays the signal several times until eventually decaying into nothing. And we thought this was really interesting because it isn't an effect that's typically heard on electric violins. So including this just sounded really interesting, and we felt was a very unique take on the sound of a traditional violin.
Our second effect is a phaser mixed with a reverb effect. And that one is just really interesting because combining these two on a violin gives it a very spooky sci-fi effect.
And our last one, which is probably my favorite, is a gyroscope-based distortion effect. So based on how you move on the y-axis, it adds more and more distortion, which ultimately makes everyone who plays this violin different. This is inspired by violinists like Lindsey Sterling, which move around a lot as they play. So anyone who plays this will have their own kind of personalized sound based on how they move around.